Boom shakalaka. What's going on, everybody? Randall here from Crypto Love, and I am joined today by Stephen Hyduchek from Bridge Protocol. What's going on, Stephen?
What's going on, Randall? Great to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. Thanks so much for sitting down with this interview.
Yeah, thanks for taking time on your Sunday. I hope everybody's relaxing and not checking their Blockfolio nonstop.
I can't guarantee that. I think it's probably like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so today we're talking about Bridge Protocol, but before we get into that, why don't you start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself?
Well, great to be here, like I said, and hopefully the community is familiar with us by now. I came over from Project ICO. We used to do the consulting side and helping other token sales, like the community might know, like Elastos and Loki, and kind of helping out with some future Neo projects now that we're excited to help on, and that kind of got me into this space. And we saw we kind of needed a solution here. Why not create a blockchain and automation solution for these blockchain crowd funds? So we saw a lot of these processes being repeated time and time again, meaning whether it was KYC or legal or money laundering checks, and we saw our clients spending hundreds of thousands of dollars pretty much verifying the same people every time because a lot of people participated in multiple ICOs. So we said, why don't we try to reduce this cost, make it better for the user and for the business so they don't need to absorb those costs. So that kind of led me here. We really think that we came up with a solution to a problem that existed rather than vice versa, like we might see in the space a little bit. We're kind of, we're proud on being able to find the need right now rather than maybe 10 or 15 years away. So we're pretty excited about what we've been working on.
That's awesome. So I guess that's beginning to tell people a little bit about Bridge Protocol, but can you tell people more about Bridge Protocol and how it works?
Sure. So we're really excited, and to be honest with you, what we're doing isn't rocket science. We're applying a lot of basic open source concepts to our project to serve the customers. So what we're doing is, so there's a lot of companies that do know your customer, anti-money laundering checks, and they're always innovating, whether that's through some new type of facial recognition systems or a new algorithm that double verifies users' credentials, through online social networks and through their documents. So that space is there, but what we're doing is adding the blockchain element to it. And one of the things that I like to, when I see a lot of these projects, when I was personally investing, it was like, do you need a blockchain? And one of the questions I ask, like, are you adding a trustless, permissionless layer? Meaning, do you need a human interaction, and can you automate that human interaction? So what we're doing, instead of having a manual database that's checked every time, why not cut that out from the process and then apply a public wallet to that that's already been verified? And whether the business wants them to be recertified every 6 months or 12 months, we can do that all with the system validating, checking, validating, checking. And these are things that a blockchain provides. So for us, we're really focused on the technology. We're here. We had our ICO back in late February, so we're really focused on the product coming out. But what we want to do is be able to help these exchanges. So you'll see a lot of regulation coming out, meaning you haven't seen Bittrex and Poloniex and Bitfinex and a lot of these US-based exchanges listing tokens. And the reason why they're not listing tokens is because we're waiting for a clear roadmap from the SEC to tell us, how do we navigate this? What oversight do you want? What compliance measures do you want taken? And we keep hearing, are you a security? Are you a utility? And for us, we're acting as if they are a security, but we're really providing the solution to appease the regulators, but also bring to the consumers something that protects them. So we really want to make sure that you as an investor in an ICO doesn't have to give up all your information at the same time. We want to be able to appease the SEC, the CFTC, and we're working with some of the best attorneys and bankers to hear what they need and what they think is going to be needed here. So that's really what we've been working on.
Yeah, and that's a good spot to be in because developing a trustless and permissionless system for ICOs for the KYC and AML, because right now we have maybe tens of ICOs per day or per week, but it's
Right.
been estimated in the future there'll be hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands going on. So it's definitely
Right.
going to be a necessary system coming up in the future.
I think so too. I think I always believe that token sales are the new Indiegogo. They're the new Kickstarter of whether this is a a fad that lasts 10 years or the permanent way to do crowdfunding for the next foreseeable future. But even those Kickstarter campaigns, the Jobs Act came about on how to solicit accredited investors or non-accredited investors, Reg CF for how much they could raise within a reasonable amount. So there's guidelines there that businesses can navigate, and that's kind of the one thing we haven't seen in this space. So we're trying to get ahead of that. So when that does come out here in the next few months, as the SEC has kind of put a little bit of scare in businesses here in the United States with recent subpoenas, so we can be already ready. We want to just come in, give them the tool to say, hey, Bittrex, here's the tool for you to be compliant. We run in the background. Everybody wins. So that's what we're focused on.
Awesome. So you mentioned previously that before Bridge Protocol, you founded and worked on Project ICO and worked with companies that people might know like Elastos, or projects people might know like Elastos. So has that influenced what you're doing in Bridge Protocol?
Yeah, I will say, experience is one of those things that can be worth its weight in gold. And, we're happy to have some of the best City of Zion guys come onto our team now, which not to get ahead. I know we mentioned talking about that. So we're really focused on experience. And for me, it really allowed me a whole year, which I don't want to say that I'm an expert. And when somebody says that, I kind of step back. But for me, it at least allowed us some experience to say, these were the issues that we saw with prior ICOs. These were some of the compliance questions they had. These were some of the costs. Just the whole aspect of a token sale is very complicated. Everybody thinks, hey, I'll go out there and run my own token sale. I can launch an ERC20 in 15 minutes or some of the tools on Ethereum. But there's a lot more moving pieces in that, especially if you want to do something legitimate. So it allowed us to actually see unfortunately the dark side of the crypto world, and it allowed us to see some of the good. So it allowed us to have a baseline of what we should build our product around.
Yeah. Now, when you said City of Zion developers, anytime someone mentions a NEP5 token or a token based on NEO, I get really excited. So can you talk about the team that you have there, and then also why you chose NEO as a blockchain?
Sure. Well, we're excited about that too. We wanted to be committed when during our sale, some of the seed nodes fell out of place, and Fabio, who's basically the leader of City of Zion, great guy, came out and put a community announcement. We had conversation with him too, and it was like, guys, we need to support this ecosystem. We're all benefiting from it by receiving these funds from our token sale. We need to support this. So our team was one of the first ones. My brother actually launched 10 seed nodes that was supporting the infrastructure of NEO during our sale. Obviously, to help our sale, we had a lot of people whose wallets weren't syncing, who couldn't even access their NEO and other assets during the sale. So we wanted to be the first ones to do that. He wrote a whole explanation about how to do that. And one of now he's our chief systems architects, Alex Guba, he also did the same thing, but while he was acting under the City of Zion. So immediately we saw him and it was like, this guy's here for the benefit of the ecosystem. He's obviously a very good engineer. He won first place in one of the most recent developer competitions for his project Tree Trail. And his experience is highly relevant. So we're excited to have him on board. And we also hired Thomas Lopker, who won third place in the first ever developer competition for making basically a system that you could have Skype calling, but with anonymity using your public address. So for us, we're building an identity system built on your public address. His skills are highly relevant. So we wanted to have people who knew how to build on NEO, who are passionate about this space. And the City of Zion guys, we have a great relationship with them, and they're some of the most humble guys that you'll ever meet. They're knowledgeable. They're here to build this. And if I was investing, if City of Zion ran an ICO, you better be sure that I'd be investing a good amount of my money to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like great additions to the team that you've got there. So that's awesome to hear. Now, just touching on one thing that you said, can you talk about what seed nodes are, just in case people don't know?
So seed nodes are basically the virtual machines that support the NEO ecosystem. So essentially, as basic as it comes, they're the servers that support your data. So, NEO is centralized in how they act with their consensus nodes, but their infrastructure is quote unquote decentralized, meaning, anyone from the community could host one of these things. So that was our call to action. And, it's a good first step. Neo has that built in there as they work on decentralization. I mean, that's just another factor, but you're not relying on one Amazon or one DigitalOcean machine. You're relying on the whole ecosystem similar to Ethereum to support it.
Okay, thanks. Now, with digital identity, there are a few competitors out there, things like Civic, The Key, even Ontology. So
Right.
can you discuss how you compare with them and potentially how you will compete with them if you need to?
Right. So we've been kind of, admittedly, we've been a little bit quiet since our token sale here. What I will say is we understand the business aspect of this. As much as I am, a free market person, and my beliefs are obviously in decentralization, and we want to decentralize as much as we physically can, as much as technically possible. But in this aspect, every day we're working with regulators, bankers, attorneys. If you want to navigate in the world of business, you really need to make sure you're working with all those aspects. We're working with our bank that, is looking for these solutions and educating them. We're educating local businesses. We're educating software businesses in the area. And these are things that, just organically is going to help this space become more mainstream. So we haven't heavily marketed, but that's going to be one of our big differentiators. And one of our other big differentiators is, we have some really unique go-to-market strategies. We're not, the space is competitive, like I mentioned to you. There's companies that do this without a blockchain. So naturally, blockchain companies and blockchain exchanges and crypto exchanges are going to be some of our first targets for companies as customers. And we have great relationships with some of the leading US ones as we build our solution. But we really need to make sure that this tool is ready for their need. And that's what we've been studying. It doesn't have to be something so complex. It doesn't have to be, to change the world, but it needs to be able to serve the business and bring revenue. So that's kind of going to be our differentiator here. We're really focused on US-based companies to begin. Obviously, we want this tool to be able to be plug and play globally, but and our tool will be able to, what we're looking at is luckily some of the best open source frameworks like Hyperledger Indy, BigChainDB, and you're going to be able to tie physical user data to a public address. But while you Randall, would be able to secure that and only give access to who you'd want. Like a prime example that I like to give is, you go to the bar, they don't need to see your driver's license. They don't need to see your address. They just want to see that you are over 21. You are compliant to go into that bar and, have a brewski or two. So, that they only need that. Why are we giving all these businesses and bars and restaurants that kind of information? Why not have a card with an NFC reader on it that has your public address on the front and your private key on the back? All that bar would do is have a terminal that would be set up to read this, and it would have basically a green check or a red mark that says you're compliant, and that's the only bit of information that they get. So that's what we're really tailoring to.
Yeah, and that's a really cool system that you have set up or that you've proposed there with, being able to just read the public keys, and then in order to verify it, if you need to, you could use a private key, but everything necessary, you can just use the public key for that.
Right.
Yeah. So during your token sale, you ran into some hiccups, and then also things with delisting on Switch.io. So can you talk about those and kind of what happened there?
Sure. So kind of like we mentioned about the seed nodes, it was humbling, to be honest. We had massive demand. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Though we didn't reach our hard cap because of some of the issues. I mean, we really were humbled by the amount of interest that we had, and it caused so much. So we were one of the first ones using the KYC verification built into the Neo blockchain. So kind of like what we were talking about here, we had to do a manual KYC. Then once those addresses were whitelisted, meaning once we approved you through the manual KYC through a company we used, then we had to upload only the ones that were whitelisted to the Neo blockchain. So we uploaded, I think it was, up to 10,000 addresses, and we had so much demand trying to get in the moment that it opened. And there was a new upgrade to the Neon wallet that allowed, there was a radio button that basically said, hey, are you doing verification for this token sale, or you're not doing verification for this token sale? And obviously we were. So some people who weren't verified for the token sale were trying so many times to get into the token sale that it actually caused basically a DDoS attack on the Neo blockchain, meaning there was just so many requests for data that it caused a hiccup. So that was kind of one of the first, and we didn't expect that, but that was one of the first issues. And then, like I mentioned, the seed nodes, which we quickly acted upon. And, obviously nothing ever kind of works out. That you can try to plan and do as much as you want, but, kind of sometimes things just work out that way. So, we dealt with that as promptly and quickly as we could. I think we received over, I think it was $1.2 million of Neo that they didn't click the verify button. So that means like they sent their Neo and they weren't minted any IM tokens. So we had to manually refund every one of those transactions. So our team was up all night making sure during the sale I think everybody would attest within 2 days, pretty much they got their Neo back while we were running the sale. So it's a little bit of a crazy time, but we're proud how we acted there.
Mm-hmm. And then, so a lot of people who did participate in the token sale, they want to know probably which exchanges you can find Bridge Protocol on, and maybe exchanges coming up in the future, if you can talk about anything.
Sure. Well, the standard thing is, well, we can't talk about exchanges, due to regulatory oversight, but we are trading on an exchange right now. It's a smaller exchange called BitPaction and ByteBTC, and we wanted to start there because ByteBTC allows a USD pairing, which is very good for us as we start to educate traditional businesses if they need to buy our tokens for whatever reason. If Bank A needs 10,000 verifications and one user verification is 1 IM, well, they have to buy 10,000 IM. So if they need to buy more or less, they have an exchange where they can easily and quickly go into USD. So that's something of high benefit for us. But we're in talks with some other really great ones, and we have a little bit of strategy behind our plan. Like I said, our MVP is going to be rolling out here in the next month, and we really want to show the community that we're not just talk. Because talk is cheap. I put my money into this. Like you said when we were talking about with the smart contract launch, we put our name on the line here, and we have some of the leaders from City of Zion coming here. So like I said, talk is cheap. We want to show that we have action on that. We want to be one of the first ones with a digital identity solution that works, and a digital identity solution that businesses are utilizing. So, once that's ready, I think our token value will speak for itself.
Awesome. We'll talk about the MVP. I'm sure people want to know about that.
Well,
if you can say anything, I don't know.
Well, sure. So we plan on being, like I said, we want to decentralize as much as we can, but some of these things are just technologically not feasible right now. So a lot of things that we're working on is basically, like I mentioned, we want to be the utility that, if you were an exchange like Bittrex came to us and said, hey, we have a lot of users here. They go through multiple exchanges, but we want to be compliant and they want to be compliant, and we want to sell to US investors. How do we do that? So we come in and say, hey, what we're going to be building is essentially an API that they could call upon. And when that's called upon, that's how our token is used, because that will charge them an IM token to verify that user, or how many is going to be the fee structure that we'll set. So that will allow businesses to essentially either create their own web portal that will then go through for them to be verified and tie their public address to, or that will be through the user-facing aspect, which we've released some of the UI app for our iPhone that we've been mocking up. So that's the easy part. The UI aspect, the blockchain interfacing, has been what we have been spending months and months on and conceptualizing and building. So we really want to be that utility. We don't want to be the company that everybody's hyping. We want to be the company that's kind of, a good example that I like to use, Fritz on our team. He works at SAS here. I think it's the largest private data analytics company in the world. So any casino that you walk into, any cruise ship that has any casino, all their data and analytics and machine learning is literally programmed by SAS. And they're a private source company. They don't open source much. And you probably had no idea that they were running all that machine learning. The pricing for Kohl's and items, when you walk into a Kohl's in New York City and that Nike tee is $20 opposed to Kansas City where it's $14, they study all that geographic information system. So we want to be that company that's providing these solutions and that it just works. We just want to be the utility.
Great. So Aside from the MVP coming up this week, do you have anything else upcoming partnerships and now or anything?
Well, we just partnered with. So one of the things we're really excited about is, like I mentioned to you, the kind of like the go-to market of markets that already understand the usefulness of blockchain and the usefulness of digitalization. So South Korea, we actually partnered with a company called TrueBlocks. So they're one of the leading incubators. They're like Hashed, and Hashed is big with ontology, but TrueBlocks, they're partnered with us, Red Pulse, Apex, a lot of other really great known Neo projects, and their focus is on awareness and obviously spreading it through that market. So South Korea is one of the first in the world that a resident, you could go into their state offices and get an e-resident ID, meaning you don't need to carry around a driver's license anymore or a government issued anything. It's literally all through USB. You can get it on your phone. And obviously they're not doing this on the blockchain yet. We hope to sell governments and municipalities on that kind of thing, but just kind of shows you we're positioning ourselves into markets that are already forward thinking in the aspect of digitalization. So we're really excited about that. They have a great group that we work with that we're doing interviews with. We have some trips planned, so we're really excited about that.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a lot of stuff going on with the project, especially in the next couple of months. You have a lot coming up, so everyone will be able to keep an eye out for that stuff. Was there anything else that you were looking to discuss on this interview? Anything else I didn't touch on?
I think we just wanted to kind of get out here and give the community an update, and your crypto love. So I know your love throughout the Neo community as well. So we just wanted to let them know we're here working. We may not be the heaviest in marketing right now, but we make sure to give them updates. And as soon as our product rolls out, like I said, we really believe that talk is cheap and action is really what we're going to show. And we really want to be the ones that, truly brings a real business solution onto the blockchain and gets that adoption. So we're really excited about what's coming up.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with you there. It's almost, at least in my opinion as well, it's always much better to have to be doing a lot and not saying much as opposed to saying everything and having nothing to back it up.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have this interview.
Oh, well, it's been great, Randall.
Yeah, great. And then maybe we'll catch up again sometime in the future.
Yeah, I hope so, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, peace.